Okay, hello everyone. How are you all going? I hope you have a great day. And I think it's good to start right now. So, without further ado, I want to say thank you to all participants for sparing your time to join our webinar. This webinar is actually With Youth First event, so I'm really excited and honored to be the master of ceremony for today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Bian. I'm the head of public relation in With Youth ID. And this event is presented by With Youth ID and Green Welfare Indonesia. This webinar will talk about fostering sustainable activism in the climate movement, overcoming anxiety and burnouts. This webinar will be in full English, because we have a couple of bilingual speakers. There will be e-certificates, so make sure that you all stay to the end of the session to take attendance. Before we get into the topic, I want to introduce you to my organization, which is Visit ID. Visit ID is a youth-led organization that aims to educate, spread, and raise awareness to the youth about mental health in Indonesia. Visit ID possesses the mission to give a positive impact towards resolving this ongoing problem, which is the lack of mental health treatments, especially during this pandemic. Because this event is collaboration with Green Welfare Indonesia, so I want to introduce you to Green Welfare. Green Welfare Indonesia is a youth-led non-profit organization with the vision and mission of achieving zero hunger, food security, climate action, and sustainable agriculture through plant-based and approaches and green action. I think that's enough for an introduction from us. Before I bore you a little bit more, let me explain you about this event theme. As I said before, this event is mostly about activism, and this event will split into two sessions. The first session, we will talk about the speaker's journey of becoming an activist, and the second session, we'll talk about the ups and downs experienced by the speaker during their time as an activist. Next, about the webinar etiquette, it is shown on your screen, which are, maybe the operator can share screen. Okay, I will read it. The first etiquette is please mute your microphone at all times to make a conductive space for the speakers. You can turn on your mic if in the second session, which is the session where you can give out questions to the speakers, but don't forget to raise your hand first. And the third, do not use the chat room for out of topic discussion or as your personal water cooler. Next, we will be having Q&A session after the presentation. Feel free to drop down a question you have for the speaker at any point of the panel or presentation for the Q&A session. Next, participate in upcoming polls and stay present till the end of the session to fill the attendance form. And last, feel free to turn on your camera. Maybe that's enough, and we really hope that all participants can allow the etiquettes. If any of you have questions, please leave it down on the chat box. And last but not least, I want to remind you that this is a donate as you wish event. So feel free to donate, and Green Welfare with Youth ID will use all donation for our programs. Your donation also will help and advocate for people that are in need. For now, our available methods of payments are OVO, GoPay, Link Aja, and QRs. So yeah, without further ado, I hope I explained a lot, and I hope that we will have a conductive sessions after this. And I'm stepping down as the MC, and I'm gonna give the floor to Rara as the moderator for the first session. Rara.
Hi, thank you so much, Bian. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I'm the Public Relations and Events Officer of Green Welfare Indonesia. And I'm super excited to be moderating the first session of this webinar. So for this first session, the topic will be the journey of being an activist. We're going to have each of the speakers talk about their own journey of becoming an activist. Personally, I'm very interested in this session because as a youth, I would also love to contribute for the betterment of the world through activism. But we all know that being an activist is not only a title, but there underlies a responsibility behind it too. Thus, it would be really great to listen to how our speakers were able to overcome their doubts and finally become an activist. Without further ado, I would like to welcome and introduce all the speakers here. First, we have Lara Rudar, which is the ambassador of UAE for Nature. Next, we have Alexandra Karin, an artist, a teacher, and an activist. Karin is an environmental activist in Extinction Rebellion and Jeddah Untuk Iklim. Second, we have Sri Pascarni Agustina, who is also known as Tina, who is the project coordinator in Diverse Clean Action. And last but not least, we have Rafa Jafar, who is the founder of eWaste RJ. Now we're going to listen to the first presentation. I would like to welcome Lara to present her journey of becoming an activist. Hi, Lara. All right.
Hi, thank you so much, Rara. Gosh, I think I'll just start from the beginning. First, I would like to say thank you so much for everyone for being here, because honestly, webinars like these are the reason that I advocate and everything. And if you do want to start your journey as an activist, I think this is the best place to be. Just learning about everyone's experiences and maybe even reflecting on your own. So thank you for taking your time out of your day for being here. But yeah, so as a child, I loved nature. Probably like most 6-year-olds, I dreamt of living in this magical fairyland where I'd be like a flower, a fairy or something, and spend my days taking care of nature. But yeah, as I grew up, I got into writing and debating, and there was this essay writing competition, and the topic was sustainability education. So when I was 10, I wrote this essay because my teacher really wanted me to enter this competition. And, looking back at it, it wasn't that bad. But I got into the finals and I was invited to debate at Oxford. And this was essentially kind of a 2-day event where I could meet lots of different youth from around the world who also submitted their essays and just, talk about different issues. And during these debates, I was kind of thrown into this world of environmental issues. And honestly, it didn't traumatize me, but I felt like as a 10-year-old, it definitely had an impact on me, just seeing the breadth of these issues and how severe they were. And I remember so clearly the night after the debates when I was just falling asleep, I made this promise to myself, and I promised that I will continue learning about these issues and also teach others about these issues so that in the end I can try to solve them with everyone. And so, yeah, I think that was my first big point of realization when I really realized that I want to kind of dedicate my life or just, choose to have moments of my time where I really think about these issues, because it's really easy in life to just forget about things around you and only focus about your life and not really the wider issues that are surrounding you. But my second kind of pivotal moment was last year, about a year ago, when I really got into advocacy. And I think the difference here was that I had found my community, because before I was just doing it independently, trying to go to debates, different talks, just finding out more about the world around me and getting involved in these issues. But last year, I met my activist friends online, and I was in this kind of area where I was with people who also wanted to help the environment, and they also wanted climate justice and sustainability. And that's so powerful, because you're essentially in a community, in a place where everyone's supporting you, and you're connecting with so many people. So as well as that, because of the pandemic, everything was online. So it was easier to be a part of conferences, different projects and initiatives and events like these, where I'm talking to you and where I'm learning more about different issues and different things that activists are doing. So honestly, if I had one advice for people starting their activism journey, it's to find your people. And I wish that I found my amazing friend Suna, because it's so easy to make friends online, especially if you're a part of an NGO like Green Welfare Indonesia, or at the Re-Earth Initiative where I work. And these people will always inspire you and support you and motivate you to do more stuff. And I think I've learned the most about climate change and its intersectionality from other youth activists. So yeah, a year ago, I applied to become one of the 20 UAE ambassadors for nature. And I got into this position, and I had the opportunity to work with Emirates Nature WWF, which is kind of our local chapter of the World Wildlife Foundation. And as well as that, I got to work with the government, its environmental agency. And as you might have guessed, my area of focus is youth education. So as an ambassador, I had the pleasure to connect with youth all around Dubai and Abu Dhabi to discuss different environmental topics and work with them during educational events. So these events are, different challenges, digital workshops, discussions, environmental debates, quiz and bingo nights on environmental topics, different screenings of various documentaries, and all of this kind of helped spread awareness about local and global issues. And with the pandemic, obviously most of these were digital, but I kind of realized how even though we weren't in person and we couldn't really go out and do all of these things in nature the way that we were doing it before, it just made all of these workshops and everything so much more accessible to young people, because many, youth especially don't have the tools to actually, or I guess resources to be able to go out, dedicate time, maybe commit to a journey of going to certain places in order to learn these things. So being online just made it so much easier and so much more accessible. So, always look at the positive sides. And all of these kind of discussions led to so many exciting conversations about sustainability, increasing environmental awareness in the region. And I really believe that education is such a powerful way to fight climate change. And it makes me extremely proud to see how dedicated youth are in advancing climate action. So one of my favorite events was the Reimagine Youth Circle virtual series. And essentially it was a series of webinars that invited special guests such as Director Generals, UAE ministers, different chief executives to present their plans for green recovery and really listen to what youth have to say. But for me, it was important that these speakers didn't necessarily come from an environmental background, which meant that, it kind of shows how the environment shouldn't be seen as a separate entity. Environmental awareness, education, the whole environment, it's linked to politics, it's linked to innovation, the economy, food security, education. So it's really important to kind of make sure that everyone is kind of engaging with these topics. So yeah, it was really great to see different policymakers, CEOs of businesses kind of engaging and seeing how important this is. And so in a way, it also bridged this gap between youth and policymakers, adults. And I think that technology, we wouldn't really be able to talk to them as easily. So it was a platform for youth to share their ideas. And then all of these contributions in the end were recorded in the form of a white paper, which outlined what over 2,000 youth would like to see in the country's green recovery. And honestly, coming back to education, I really think that environmental education should be at every level of formal education. I'm quite privileged or lucky in the fact that my school has a lesson dedicated to the environment that I take. But that's more of an elective course that I'm taking in IB, so environmental systems and societies, where I can learn and study these issues. But lots of students don't have that. So I'm working at the Re-Earth Initiative as the education coordinator to promote widespread understanding of climate change at schools around the world. And you can check us out. Re-Earth was actually created after this large-scale Earth Day campaign, which mobilized thousands of youth to digitally protest and make climate pledges. And so after our success, we continue to work on different campaigns, created various toolkits, drive real change. And yeah, our mission is to make the climate movement accessible to everyone. And so we have over, I think, 140 volunteers from the ages between 13 to around 27 that work on various projects to make this possible. And yeah, just I want to say that when you take different opportunities, then more opportunities come to you. And if you have the right mindset, then you will attract different opportunities. Like what I'm saying is, if you, for example, agree to do a webinar and speak about a topic that you're really passionate about, then from that webinar, you'll make the connections of people who are also involved in that work, and they might ask you to contribute to a different webinar. And so in this way, you're always learning about different issues, and that's kind of the way that you can campaign. And so recently, I applied to become a delegate at the Youth for Climate event. So the pre-COP26, which COP26 is a United Nations climate conference. So in September, I'm really excited to travel to Italy to a conference to meet different representatives, so youth representatives from all the different countries around the world. I think in total there's 400 of us. And yeah, I'm really excited because I'll be meeting my online activist friends in person. I can't wait to give them all a big hug. And we'll be drafting different policies and demands to present to ministers ahead of COP26, the negotiations. So yeah, I really hope that they take all of what we say aboard to actually implement what youth want. And again, this is organized by the UN and the Italian government, so that kind of shows how supportive different organizations and different governments are. If you're getting started with activism, or you just don't know how to kind of continue, then I'd suggest just reaching out to different organizations, different, your government chapters, and asking them, just like with an email, with a message on LinkedIn or something, about how you can help. Because everyone, I'm telling you, wants to help you, and this environmental community is so supportive. And it's not about, yourself, because essentially you're trying to uplift everyone, and everyone wants to see that everyone's succeeding. So yeah, that's kind of been my journey. If you have any questions, then you're welcome to ask me.
All right, thank you so much, Lara. I agree. I have to highlight one point from you, whereas you said we have to find a community. That's so true. That's how I was able to find my passion in environment. That's when I joined Green Welfare Indonesia. Next, I would like to welcome Tina. Next, we'll have...
Hello.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, I hope I have a stable connection. Okay,
yes.
Is it okay? Can I set no? Okay.
Yes, please.
Hi, hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all here. I hope everybody in this room is healthy and safe. First, allow me to introduce myself. Since I came to here as a representative of Diverse Connection, I would like to just give you a short introduction about what is Diverse Connection and what we are doing in our organization. Okay, is my screen already visible for anyone?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Sri Pascarina Agustina, but just call me Tina. And here, I came as program coordinator at Diverse Connection. First, I want to introduce you about this picture. We all know that actually Indonesia, 2/3 of its area is consists of ocean, and when we dive under the sea, actually this is what we have to see: the clear water and the blue one, and also we have beautiful coral reef and also diverse species. But yeah, unfortunately, when we dive into the sea, we saw this, what is this, jangkar, and also there are car tires, and also there are beverage can, and there is bottle plastic and another household waste is dumped under the ocean. And by that concern, in 2015, DCA is founded by Swetania Puspalastari because she has a great concern about marine pollution in Kepulauan Seribu, and because the increasing number of marine debris problem in Indonesia, DCA has established as debris challenges in Indonesia. Actually, right now we have almost 15 main members, and we have 100 volunteers across Indonesia. And in Diverse Connection, I have joined 2 years ago as program coordinator that manage a community-based management program. And in this organization, we have several programs. There are marine debris research where all of our volunteers can do beach cleanup, and they can input their data to this platform. And then we have a campaign and workshop to educate young people to be able a local leader in their region. And in this community development program, I work in this program. I will talk about it later. And the last one is we have a CSR and EPR facilitator. In this program, we aim to assist the private sector so they could have a more responsibility towards their product and also their waste of the product. Okay, right here I become a program coordinator, manage community-based waste management program in Kepulauan Seribu and Jakarta Utara, and some area in Jakarta Timur. In this program, we assist the waste collector officer to be able to conduct waste segregation schemes at source, and also we educate the household to be able to separate their waste into inorganic and also organic, so they could sell their valuable materials to the West Bank. And also all of those finding we advocate to the local government. So yeah, we would have a more collaborative initiative towards tackling this marine debris issue. Okay, I think that's all about the presentation. Sorry. Okay. Maybe since sorry, why I want to join this organization and why I fight for this is actually have a lot of small island, and there is a time when I became a volunteer in the farthest inhabited island of DKI Jakarta. In there, I saw a pile of marine debris that carried by the sea and uphill in the coastline of the beach. And I imagine what will be happen if the local community that are very dependent on the sea, what will be happen if their marine ecosystem is substituted with plastic waste. And I have some uneasiness inside me because I came from environmental engineering background. Due to that concern, I motivate myself to be more contribute in this issue. I think that's all about myself.
All right, thank you so much,
Okay.
Katina. It was very insightful to see what you've done, what you're doing in Diverse Clean Action. I would really love to learn more after this session. All right, next I would like to welcome RJ.
Hi.
Hi,
Okay.
all right, it's our session. Okay, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Rara. Thank you for the opportunity for giving me the opportunity to be in this amazing webinar. Now, unfortunately, the team only gave me 7 minutes, so, and I have a presentation to give you guys, so hopefully I don't pass the time limit, but it's okay, you know? Let's just enjoy our time in this afternoon. Now, yes, hi everyone. My name is Rafa Jafar. People used to call me RJ. I am the founder of US RJ Community. We are one of Indonesia's leading grassroots nonprofit organization in the field of electronic waste. It's we're one of the only organizations in Indonesia who's talking about this specific issue. So because I only have a very small amount of time, I'm just going to summarize and tell you guys before I start everything about my journey, is to talk about electronic waste, basically. Okay, sorry. So I summed it up into these 4 points, that e-waste is a global future issue. Now, have you ever seen those, broken devices in your house, cables, batteries, or that's just, it's left there and in your drawer in your house. Now, I've experienced that too. I started this journey actually back when I was 11 years old, when I was still in elementary school. And I was a gamer, and I have all of those electronic devices in my house as a gamer. And the devices started to broke, and I have a drawer full of electronic waste. And I was confused what to do with all of these things. Is the trash in the right place? Am I supposed to give it to someone else? It's a big question mark on who's actually responsible of this huge issue. Now, the biggest dilemma actually of electronic waste, especially in my country and in Indonesia itself, is that people don't know where to throw away their e-waste. And at the same time, there's no places, there's no facilitations on where to throw your e-waste. So it's like both two issues coming at the same time. So that's why my first point over there is, who's responsible? Is it the producers who are creating these devices and becoming e-waste when the devices are broken? Are we, and then is the problem coming from the consumers, from us, household people who uses electronic devices every single day? And is it the government's responsibility, or is it the producers? Like it's still a big dilemma. It's still a big question now. So that's why I state that as a global issue, because if you see point number 4, there's this bioaccumulative nature that e-waste has, which the effect can happen in the next 20 to 30 years. So it's not significant. It's not when you get contaminated by the toxics inside e-waste, you're gonna get all those diseases tomorrow, let's say next week. No, but it's still the next 20 to 30 years. So it's still a very uncommon issue for people to talk about, because no one has ever felt being affected by these toxics like significantly. Now, that is the background of why I decided to establish my own community called e-waste RJ. I wanted to be able to answer people's question about, if I have e-waste, where can I throw them away? If I have e-waste, where should I dump them? Now, I created this movement. It's called e-waste RJ Drop Zone. It's spread in 20 points in 12 cities in Indonesia. So it's basically a trash bin for people to throw away their electronic devices. And our job is to connect between consumers and recycling companies in Indonesia. So we decided to create these boxes and make it into more of an educational campaign, make it a more informative one, because people in Indonesia lack information on where actually they can throw away their e-waste. And don't worry, we also have a warehouse that is always open. So if you guys are not near with any of these points, you can always send your e-waste to our warehouse. So it's very easy, very accessible. We wanted this to be easy for everyone to do. Now, a lot of people have asked me, what do I do to all those e-waste after it's collected? Of course, we're not going to do any illegal recyclings, and we're not gonna use them for things that we're not supposed to. So I have this thing, anyways, I always call it immediately, appropriately. You have to throw away your e-waste immediately, and you have to recycle your e-waste properly. So you can't just leave them out in your house, and you can't just throw it whenever you like. So after it's collected, we're gonna distribute it into a recycling company, a proper one that is certified by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry of Indonesia. So all these e-waste are going to go through material recovery process, and it's going to be new raw materials, and it can be used into new things. So it's a very sustainable process. I hope so. It's a very sustainable process. But the problem is, the challenge is how to connect these companies, which is still unknown by the citizens of Indonesia. So that's why I created the movement in the first place. Now, this is the company that we're partnering with. It's called TLE, just the basic information. So all your e-waste will be stored to this company to be recycled in the proper, in the right way. Now, since 2016, we have collected more than 5 tons of electronic waste. And my question as a change maker, as the founder of e-waste RJ, is always, is it enough? Is recycling enough? Is what we're doing these past years is good enough to finish, to solve this global issue that's happening around the world? And actually, the answer is no. 5 tons is just 0.001% comparing to Indonesia's waste production. Each year, we produce for about 1,618,000 tons of e-waste. That's every year, and that's in 2019. This is facts from 2019. So, and every year, if you see the development of technology, it's going so vastly. So of course, this number will also increase time to time. So the question that I was having to myself was, what's the main issue? Is recycling enough? What's the point of recycling that much e-waste, but the production itself in the first place, we cannot decrease it? So that's why we needed to do more than recycling. It's never enough. We're doing too much consuming, we're doing less recycling, and there's still so little industries that is engaging in the field of repair and refurbishment. We need more actions and collaborations, and we need more preventive actions comparing to repressive actions. Because if you want to recycle things, you need the waste, you need the e-waste. So what we're trying to achieve here is prevent them, prevent people from producing e-waste, so many e-waste in the first place. We wanted to change the way people think, people's mindset about how they view technology, and their lifestyle in their everyday lives. So we have to, we want people to reduce and consume no more than the planet can provide. And this is very important. The second point is to be a wise, smart, and responsible consumer of electronics. So make sure you buy the devices that you need, and make sure you use your devices until the end of its lifespan. Use your phone for at least 4 to 5 years. Use your laptops for at least 5 to 7 years, so that you don't always follow the trend of technology. You're just gonna use it, because the more you buy, the more you waste. The more you buy, the more e-waste you're gonna produce. And last point is, don't forget to drop your e-waste in the e-waste RJ drop zone. So this is just how you contribute. You can ask it later on in the Q&A session, but this is the last thing my last point is that what we're trying to create here in e-waste RJ is a sustainable technology development to implement a circular economy, starting from the design, production, distribution, consumption, repair, recycling. So now our target is not just the consumers of electronics. Our target expanded to producers, to companies, to the governments, local governments, and we want to have them in one cycle, one system. And to create that, we need all the voices, and we need to create systemic changes. So yeah, kurang lebih, that is about my community. We can always, oh yeah, I forgot I have this slide, but you can get our goods. And I actually wrote a book when I was 11 years old. It's called Electronic Waste, and there's another book called Battery Waste. You can buy them in through our social media and everything. And yeah, thank you. We can always continue in the Q&A session later if you guys have some questions. Back to you, Rara.
All right, thank you so much, RJ. That's very cool, especially you're the pioneer in e-waste in Indonesia. It must have been difficult. I'm looking forward to hear more about you in the next session. And last but not least, we're going to listen to Karin. Karin, are you there?
Hello?
Yes, all right.
Hi. Can everyone hear me okay? My video, because my internet is really poor today.
Yes.
Okay. I'll share my presentation. Thank you so much, Sarah. Okay. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is in good health. Thank you, Green Welfare Indonesia and with Youth ID for having me. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to come to this event. My name is Alexandra Karim, but you can call me Karim. I am pleased to be here to share my climate activism journey. Firstly, I would like to disclaim the necessity of adorning labels and its definitions upon yourself and other people, as I know the weight of any labels tend to carry might not always be one that an individual is proud or convinced to bear, especially of activism or activists, which are inherently privileged and yet have unfortunately been badly perceived and distorted for one and many reasons. And I must admit that I was afraid too. I think not until recently I didn't even know if I would call myself an activist. But over time, this label has been kindly gifted to me from friends and family, as it helped them understand how important the issue is at the heart of the matter and how much it means to me to fight for it. So to clear my conscience, and perhaps anyone's here who has similar doubts as I did, feel free to define yourself by your own terms and feel free to define what activism is to you. With that being said, I am here today as part of Extinction Rebellion Indonesia, a decentralized movement that is trying to increase climate awareness and activate the public to demand the government in taking urgent and mitigative climate actions through the NVDA method. That's nonviolent direct action. Extinction Rebellion, or XR for short, was first formed in 2018 in London, UK, but it was brought to Indonesia by one of my friends in mid-2019. And that was when I first joined the movement until today. To paint a picture of XR, it's best to know its three demands, which are consistent throughout the other XR chapters across the world. First is to declare climate emergency so that the nation will begin treating this crisis as a crisis. Second is to reach net zero emission in the year 2025 to prevent a more than 1.5 degree Celsius in average global temperature rise. And third is creation of citizens' assemblies, which are independent bodies consisting of everyday people who are selected at random and assisted by specialist guidance in helping to decide and monitor policy changes that are equitable for all. The next few slides are pictures from some of our activations and strikes throughout the year. This one was from International Rebellion Week, our first XR-led strike in October 2019. This was our shoe strike in the event of Indonesia's Independence Day. These were from Pasar Gratis, situated in Cakung and Cilincing, where we gave out masks and interacted with the locals about the climate crisis. And these were from XR Makassar's NVDA in support of the Climate Action Now strikes just this March. Now moving on to my motivations, inspirations, and the genesis of my activism journey. Now that first XR Indonesia talk back in August 2019 was attended by 9 people, and 2 weeks after that we had 13 people. So it was pretty slim, but still it's something. The few of us who were compelled to be involved further started to contribute our best assets to the movement. For me, it was my life joy and profession as a teacher. During this time, I was an art teacher in a democratic project-based high school in Bogor. And so we brought XR Pas Jakarta to Bogor, and with it was our first school outreach program in the form of a Climate 101 talk, which was attended by 6 students and 6 staff. But it didn't stop there. In the event of the very first global climate strike, XR Friends, along with other environmental initiatives, formed a local coalition that we named Jeda Untuk Iklim. On the right here, you can see my students and I creating a sculpture formed out of used materials to be displayed during the strike. These students also led a variety of art workshops for 50 people who were going to the strike in need of a poster or a banner and other creative attributes. And the next Friday, we were on the streets. 25 students skipped school and came to support the fight for climate justice and their future. All of them brought DIY posters, and some even performed as entertainers in front of 2,500 people at Taman Aspirasi. It was a moment of pure inspiration, one that I felt really grateful to witness. Ever since that day, there's no turning back for me personally, because I not only want to fight for my future, but also the future of our children and our children's children. And as the saying goes, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. So it's only fair that we try to preserve what we borrow and see to it that they are not destroyed. This closeness I have with my students helped me to discover my personal focus and ambitions in this movement and my activism. I hope to offer what I am and all my ways to help be a catalyst for change. So as a teacher and an artist, I hope to create art that moves people, conduct a climate and social justice research, write and liberate climate knowledge, be an ally to the marginalized, establish deep and caring connections with my peers, and somehow help mobilize the shift together. These enlightened feelings gave way to a personal breakthrough in the ways that I view my life and activism. I am grieving the state of our world, how unfair the system is, and the generations to come that will suffer because of it. This feeling, it's sad and painful, and yet somehow the same sadness opened up a space that allows me to keep being a part of the work. So my advice is to allow it, to find what emotions are leading you towards this crisis, and allow it to create space that will drive you further into the work, the experience, and your significance inside of it. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope that was somewhat useful for anyone here. Thank you. Back to you, Rara.
Thank you so much, Karen, for the wonderful presentation. I got goosebumps while listening to you. And also, thank you so much to all other wonderful speakers. It's so interesting to see different perspectives on how you were able to finally become an activist yourself. And that wraps up the first session of the webinar. Now we're going to learn more and deeper about each of the speaker, in which I will give it back to Bian as the MC. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Rara. Well, first of all, I really want to say that the first session was very interesting and inspiring, and we get to know a lot about the journey of being an activist and the speaker's perspective in the world of activism. All audiences definitely will get a lot of inspiration to contribute and take part in environmental issues through activism. Being an activist is not always a negative thing, and I said that because there's a lot of negative stigma, right? For me, and after listening to the speaker's journey, I can conclude that being an activist can show your awareness towards cases that are happening right now. So well done. Once again, thank you, Rara, and all the speakers. We finished the first session of today. Now, there's another session that will be as interesting and inspiring as the first session, and I'm going to give it to Carla. Carla, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Bian. Good day, everyone. My name is Sekar Langit, but you can call me Carla. I'm with Youth ID's Head of Content, and it is an honor for me to be moderating session 2 of this webinar today, where we will get the chance to have a panel discussion. Well, it's more like a talk show Q&A type of thing about the ups and downs, the hustles of being a youth activist, especially in today's global climate movement, with our amazing and inspirational speakers whom, if I may add, gave outstanding presentations in the previous sessions. I personally am super inspired, and I do hope to be able to participate in the climate movement as much as they are doing right now. Like, honestly, I'm a big fan of you guys. I got goosebumps earlier, but don't worry. You guys, the audiences, will also get the chance to interact with our lovely panelists. You may ask questions. Because, you know, basically this is what the session is about, to ask questions, and then our panelists will give their answers. You may write your questions in the chat box below. But if you're also willing to say your questions directly, feel free to raise your hand, and then I'll let you unmute your mic. So maybe let me start by asking the first and very basic question. What is your definition of sustainable activism, especially in the climate movement? Maybe we can start by RJ. What is your definition of sustainable activism in the climate movement, RJ?
I did not see that coming. I was going first.
Yeah.
Sustainable activism. You know, as far as I respect people calling me an activist, I actually do not want to be one. And I actually am not qualified as an activist myself, in my opinion, because, you know, an activist is, they have a standing point, they have a standing opinion, and they are fighting for that no matter what happens. And I'm still a teenager, and I'm still 18, and my opinions might change upon time. So if you're asking if I'm an activist or not, I'm sorry guys to disappoint you. I'm just a change maker, and I want that to be my title as always. So, but yeah, sustainable activism, sustainable change making is actually when you have grit inside you. You know, enthusiasm is common, but endurance is rare. Is where you can have that constant what do you call it? Apa sih namanya? Consistency. Yeah, right. It's when you have that constant consistency inside you, is when you don't get bored doing it. Not just falling in love with what you do, but staying in love with what you're doing. So it actually has to be inside you. You know, you have to find your right problems, your right issues that you're invested to what you want to do with it. Joining is of course, I think that was one of Laura's points in her session in the first one, that you have to join someone else, you have to join and try to understand and open your eyes. And I do agree with that. You know, I mean, I started my journey when I was elementary, so I wasn't really exposed by everything. You know, what I was seeing was just e-waste and not just the other problems. What I realized through my journey is that there are a lot of other intersections of other problems there that is actually connected with one another. So, you know, I mean, right now, because there's like this some sort of blueprint to start your change making journey. There's a lot of people who's already in the journey. So you can really ask questions to anyone. Where can I start? Where do I start? Because the most important part of your change making journey is where actually you take off. It's where actually you start. Your starting point is actually very, very important. And yeah, grit is what decides your sustainable activism, is what the question was, right? Yeah. It's not just about falling in love with the issue. It's about staying in love and being consistent over time. And you don't know, no, I mean, trust me, my journey, 7 years of working on USRJ is not as smooth sailing as you think it was. I also have my up and downs. I also have my, you know, bored phase. You know, I'm a teenager. I passed junior high, senior high, and there was times where I felt like, this again? Serious? We're talking about electronic waste again? Can I just jump on another topic? It's not. It's okay to be bored. It's totally okay if you want to explore new things, and yeah, that's experience is your best teacher. Really,
Wow.
there's not really anything that can be experienced. So you have to try. You know, just do
I
it.
see. Wow. Okay. So I have to say this. Rafa, you're my age, and I feel really like what you're doing ever since you're 11 years old. Like, come on, that's like you were in elementary school, right? So what you're doing is like so inspiring. And as what you said, we would have to have grit and to stay in love with what we do, not just fall in love with what we do. That is totally inspiring. How about Karin? What do you think? What is sustainable activism for you?
Okay, thank you, Carla. I highly agree with what RJ has said. So, whatever RJ said, but I think to add to that, perhaps from learning from my own experience in XR and Jeda Untuk Iklim, I think being in such a bubble, in such a circle, in the activism circle, I think it's important to also know that you're not alone, and it's so easy to feel that way. It's easier to feel that way than the other. But I remembered what Lara said as well in her presentation, that the friends and the community is really, really welcoming and supportive. And much of what activism entails is actually kind of like playing tag. So, or like when you're tired, be tired, but and rest, you know, and ask your friend to cover for you, kind of like that. And it keeps going and going and going. So the momentum is never stopped. It'll keep finding its way to regenerate and remember that an activism movement is kind of like a wave. It's made up out of many energies, and yours is one bundle of energy, and the people around you have so much to offer and contribute as well. However, maybe someone else is highly energized and some from me, Carla.
Oh, okay. Um, so sorry, but I think you were breaking up at the end, but I think we got your point where activism is like a wave of energy of a lot of people, and us is like a bundle of energy. I totally agree to that. Activism is like playing tag. I really like what you said. It's true that we're not alone in this, right? That is really nice. How about Katina? What do you think? What is sustainable activism for you?
Okay, please hold on. I'll make the co-host so you can unmute yourself. Okay, done.
Katina, please. Oh, she didn't have the permission to unmute. Would you mind trying it one more time, Katina?
Okay, sorry,
Yes.
because I didn't have a permission to unmute, and sorry, I joined and rejoined to this webinar. And actually, I also have a bad connection, so I hope I can still
Totally
answer
fine.
this clearly. Okay, I think, is it about the sustainable activism? Carla?
Yes, sustainable activism. Sure.
Okay, I think it's all of my answer already answered by Karen and also Rafa. I just want to add some point. Sustainable activist is something that we act because we have sharp goals in our heart, not because we want to just ikut-ikutan with our friend. Uh, so I think that's all about the sustainable activists.
Okay, I see. So it's not just tagging along with our friend, but we also have to have the willingness. I see. That is really great. A great point, Katina. How about Lara? Maybe we can hear your take on this. What sustainable activism is for you?
Sure. I think that sustainable activism is pacing yourself because burnouts are a big problem. And if you do take up, well, it's hard to say no to different projects and initiatives because you really want to help the environment, you really want to do the work that you're doing, but it is important to take care of yourself mentally and, you know, allow yourself to have like unproductive days. But honestly, for me, rest is productive. You can't see it as being unproductive because it really lets you kind of see a different perspective, really step out of your work and see the bigger picture. Maybe just reflect on what you've done and reflect on what you want to achieve. So yeah, for me, I think sustainable activism is just allowing yourself to have that space, to have that time, to not really do work, but just reflect and take care of yourself.
Wow. Okay, so we need to breathe every once in a while. Is that right? Not just always work and work, but rest is also productive. Maybe that's something I have to remind myself so I don't always feel guilty resting all the time, or you know. Oh, but I'd also like to really know, what are the obstacles experienced in maintaining your motivation and goals? Like, of course, like what RJ said earlier, that his journey ever since he was 11 years old until today always has its ups and downs as well. I would like to know, how do you maintain your motivation and goals, especially that you're doing it until now and the world is in a chaos, each day and stuff like that. How do you keep maintaining and not get frustrated and stuff like that? Maybe we can start, since Lara went last, maybe Lara can go first now. Yeah.
I think sometimes it's maybe cynicism. It is hard to kind of fall into this trap of thinking that everything's going wrong in the world, thinking even the work that you've done isn't really effective, and you might have start having negative thoughts about the work that you once seemed to think was really important, and yeah, especially just self-doubting what you've done. So yeah, I've had these times where I was like, is the work I'm doing enough? And I want to say that, it is. You're trying your best. You're supporting people around you. You're inspiring others. So it is important. And if everyone kind of, in Spanish, there's this phrase where you're basically putting your pongo la granito de arena. It's like you're like a little sand, and you're basically putting your little bit of yourself into this whole beach to create something beautiful. So yeah, I think it's important to just know that what you're doing is enough and you're trying your best. That's one obstacle I've faced.
Okay, so we have to keep the positive mind inside us while we're doing our work. I like that. I have to remind that myself constantly every time as well. What about Kakarin? Do you have, what's your intake on this?
How do I stay motivated? Is that
Yes, how you stay motivated through your journey, and what are the obstacles of staying motivated?
Okay. We've talked about this. I think Lara mentioned burnout is such a common phenomenon, not just in activism, but I'm sure everyone here has experienced it to their own degrees in what they do with their profession, their daily activities. And another obstacle would be to feel like you're not doing enough, especially in the environmental issue. It's just the change that we aspire large and there, and it seems like what we've been doing, the little that we've been doing, the little that we think we've been doing, is just non-impactful whatsoever. We can never we barely see the effect of our efforts in the environmental context, because the issue is so large in itself, and so that can really take a toll on your confidence and spirit. You'll be able to, you usually would feel like I've been doing everything, I've been working myself so hard for this, but nothing really changes, and every day there's new worse headlines, catastrophes everywhere. So it feels it's really easy to feel discouraged and defeated in the fight for climate justice. And how I usually cope with it is I take a good few days of just really shutting mix. Hear me? Am I breaking up again?
Yes, it's a little bit like breaking up, but you can continue.
Okay.
Kakarin, we can't hear you. It's kind of hello.
Okay, I'm gonna turn off my video. Is this better, Carla?
Yes, this is better actually. Maybe you can answer and then
okay.
we can...
Okay, excuse me. Sorry, I need to turn off my video because the connection is really poor. So my advice would be to rest and take breaks, and try not to feel guilty when you rest. But also remember that you have allies here that you can communicate and you can pass on your work onto, so that the momentum keeps going. And it just helps ease your conscience to know that when you're resting, the movement is not resting as well. So it just keeps going and going. And I hope everyone here who has experienced burnout will be able to feel ease and comfort from knowing that you have friends in this community. So yes, Carla, that would be my answer.
Wow, thank you, Kakarin. It is true though that when we're resting, the movement is not resting. Maybe that's what we should keep in mind. So it doesn't give us anxiety when we rest, right? How about Katina? Maybe you can share to us what are the obstacles that you experience in maintaining your motivation and goals?
Okay, maybe I just want to add some motivation from Karin and Lara. I think before we want to act or fight for something, at the first place, we have to have a firm intention, and also we have to sharpen our goals. Like we must continuously explore and reflect about our purpose at the first place, and like finding what things that really makes our heart excited. So when we feel like we want to give up or there is a challenge in our way to fight that, yeah, we have to keep reflect more on ourselves. So we back to the value that we keep at the first place. I think, yeah.
I see. So we have to keep sharpening our goals. That is a really good point, so that we can still be reminded of our initial values. Thank you so much, Katina. Last but not least, RJ, what's your take on this? What keeps you motivated and reminds you of your goals?
Yeah, it's actually tricky, but I do have one thing that always keeps me motivated is my team. Having a team, having people around you, and building that environment always keeps you motivated. And yeah, I think Lara or Karin said this. It's okay to step back. Part of being consistent is actually taking a step back, taking your rest. Lara said rest. Just don't feel guilty about just sleeping all day, and just taking a good days off. So, I mean, yeah, they have really resembled all the answers basically. But what I
Okay,
want to
yeah.
add is just having your team and building your own environment around you is also a very important thing to stay motivated. So
I see.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, having a team is also like support system. Is that correct? Having a support system is also really important. Okay, so we have a few questions here already in the chat box, chat room, whatever you want to call it, I guess. So yeah, there are a few people asking how to join a community such as Extinction Rebellion, and also like how do you guys develop your platform so people can recognize you and your vision? Maybe since the first question touches XR, Kakarin can lead us and answer the question, like how to join movements and how to develop your platform so people can recognize you and your vision.
Okay. Is this the question from Amanda?
Yes, this is the question from Amanda.
Okay, thank you so much, Amanda, for the question. So because XR is like a movement, not like a movement, it is a movement. So everyone is really welcome to join. We are a decentralized network as well, so there's no really leader or anyone who gets a say of who can join us and who cannot. So if you're really interested in joining XR, and everyone here as well, you can just head to our Instagram. That's our main mode of communication with the public. I'll put it in the chat here, and you can find a link to the card. In the bio, there's a link. You can just click there. It's really easy. And if you're confused, just message me on Instagram. I'll help you get in the movement. The point is everyone is welcome. And I think what's worth talking here is kind of like maybe if you feel hesitant on joining a certain initiative or a network or a group, just try first, because they're usually more open than you would think. In the environmental work community, we always need more people to help. So I think if anyone wants to join, just message anyone and offer yourself to the initiative. And regarding how we develop our platform so people recognize ourselves, I think it's important to stay true to yourself, what your interests are, what your backgrounds and your skill sets are. For me, as I mentioned in the presentation, I am highly focused in the arts and education, and my research mainly revolves around climate and social justice. That's my main focus in the activism, and I use what I am, who I am, and what I can offer with my background in art and education through, and I channel it to this focus, this climate and ecological and social justice research. So to really find and harness your strength and keep going at it, keep carry on, and people will eventually so different people will be compelled by different behaviors and different elements of other people's personalities. So be convinced that you are unique and that your voice is unique, and that it is vital to the movement, to any movement, and any movement be would be honored to have your voice, because there isn't anyone like you. It's kind of like, this is kind of like cheesy, but it's true, I think. So just be really convinced in what you can offer to the community, and try to harness it every day, and you'll see that more and more people will open themselves to you.
Okay, thank you, Kakarin. So maybe you got your answer already. If you want to join a movement, just go ahead and reach out, right? Because there's no one like you. Cheesy, but that's actually very true. But like how we develop our movement, or like our platform itself, maybe Rafa also can answer this, because it'll be really nice to know your opinion as well. How do you develop your platform so people can, especially with e-waste, right? E-waste is like,
Yeah.
It's really, not a lot of people are talking about e-waste, and that's kind
Exactly.
of like, how do you say, reach out to public and socialize what e-waste is and stuff? How do you do that?
Right. You know, I found this challenge also challenging. What was that? No, yeah, I mean, like it's another level of challenging for me, because you know the issue of about environment, especially about e-waste, is not as exciting as when you talk about other issues, because it's not personal. So let's say you're talking about child trafficking, you have these children, you get emotional, you get connected with them. You're talking about marine debris, you know, there's these animals who are dying, so you get those emotional connections. Now, electronic waste, it's kind of hard to make it interesting for people to listen and to understand. So actually, how you communicate with other people and how to get them invested in what you're saying is to find that personal connection within the audience. So how can you make your description relate with the audience? How can you make your story as relatable as other people? So that is why our tagline is RJ's campaign, collect, circulate. The first one is campaign. We're focusing on educating people. We're focusing on how to make these information about electronic waste more understandable, more fun in a way to be studying about. And I got this motivation actually from COP 22. I recognize Lara, you're in COP 26, right? Yeah, I was in 22, 4 years ago. And it's very interesting how they can really have this giant exhibition about environment, and I loved it. You know, they have all these real presentations, holograms, and it's just very interesting. And I wondered, how can I implement that? How can I do that with my organization? How can I make the information in me? How can I brand myself into people liking and investing in what I'm trying to, what message I'm trying to send to them? So it's very important to also understand the audience, know who you're presenting to. Because of course, me and in my experience, we go through a lot of different types of audience. You name it, from elementary students, junior high school, senior high schools, and into communities like this, then even high levels, governments. And of course, how we say the message goes differently in each platform. You can't expect junior high school students to understand what you say to the government. So one thing is to understand your audience and to make your stories more relatable, more personal to what they want to understand. And yeah, it's actually the most important thing of doing your campaign. So that's how you actually develop, because once you understand your audience, you know where you lack, you know where to improve in what you're about to say, what you're saying. And balik lagi back again, I think Tino or Laura mentioned this. It's you have to reflect, take your time to see. I usually do journals, to write down and what I missed. Okay, I have to improve myself in this sectors, and it's how you really improve yourself and focus on your personal growth and your organization's growth as well. So yeah.
Personal growth is also as important as organization growth. I agree with that.
Definitely.
Of course. So we need to try to connect with our audiences. That is a good point, because the more that we are connected and related to our audiences, the more they will agree to join what we're doing, our movement and stuff. That is amazing. And I see here Lara is putting a link for those of you who would like to join her and stuff, or message her. Maybe the other speakers it'll be great, I think, if you guys also put on a link in the chat room, so that the audiences here can get a link to if they would like to join your movement and stuff like that. It is really great. Next, there's also a question from, she sent it to me privately, from Iza. She said, so her question is, people know you as a person who is full of positive things. Does that sometimes become a burden for you? And how do you deal with it when this happens? So yeah, actually, how do you guys maintain a public's expectations towards you guys? Do you have to stay positive all day, and these stigmas towards activists? Maybe you can straighten it out for us. How do you keep how do you deal with social social's demands? Maybe Lara can answer.
I mean, definitely there are lots of myths surrounding activists. Some people think that we're these, I don't know, the way that the media portrays activists, it's these, angry teenagers who just hate everyone, if they litter or whatever. And even some of my friends, they make these jokes, and it's oh, don't buy a plastic water bottle in front of Lara. And it's okay, don't. But also, I'm not a police. I'm not trying to kind of, how do I say, make people not do things. That's your own, actions. I'm just trying to inspire others and motivate people to do the right thing. So yeah, some people might see activists as these, I don't know, people. But there's also, I think, this myth of activists or advocates. I like calling myself an advocate, not an activist, but there's this myth where they seem really perfect and as if they know everything about the environment. And sometimes I feel like an imposter because I really don't know everything and I'm still learning. So I think because of this, not reputation, but I guess image, of being an environmental activist or advocate, I sometimes fall into this trap of trying to prove that I am an activist or advocate, which is honestly like really stupid, because being an activist is not about how people perceive you, it's about what good you're doing to the world around you, right? So sometimes I need to take a deep breath and remember that, you know, I don't need to show people what I'm doing, because that sometimes to me feels like performative activism, you know? I don't need to be constantly on social media sharing everything. And you know, you can work behind the scenes if you want. You don't always have to be out in the open and expressing your thoughts and feelings. It's okay to like not have a social media presence, but you know, it does help if you want to reach more people, if you want to stay connected to people. So yeah, I think that's my thing. Well,
Wow, I totally agree with you, because a lot of my friends also like tease each other about stuff like don't buy a water bottle, like something like that, or like don't throw trash like in front of her or something like that, because I do feel that, and I think that is why probably we don't really always have to be open about it, and to remind people that we're not police, right? I totally agree with you. So there are a lot of questions here, but unfortunately we don't really have all the time in the world. Probably I'm just gonna go ahead and ask the last question to all of you. Do you have any advices for people who are looking to pursue climate activism but lacks the confidence to do it? I guess that is what a lot of us wants to hear. Maybe we can start with Katina. Like, do you have any advices for us who are looking to pursue climate activism but lacks the confidence? Maybe Katina can give us her insight.
Okay, hopefully I could give you the point to that. I think we don't have to feel worry about if there is some weakness in ourselves. Maybe the first one, we have to start small and just how to say it, just accept if we make a mistake, but by that mistake we can learn from it, and we have to keep going. Because I think the first thing why the young people scary to start their activists, because they are afraid to make mistake, and like Rafa just do he start his organization in 11 years old, right? And I think it's really important, like I've mentioned earlier, that we have to firm goals about what we want to do, and we have to hilangkan all the worriness and all the things that make us afraid. I think that's it.
Wow, that is true. Like, just don't worry and just do it, gitu, right? I see. Maybe like other speakers have any intake on this as well? Do you have any advices for us? Maybe you wanna answer first, so I don't have to like really choose. If you have any advices for us, who wants to go first? Maybe
I'll go.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so I think I'll refer back to what I said in the beginning of my presentation, which was I think it'll be hard to associate yourself with the label activism or activist. As we've seen, Rafa prefers to be called change maker, Lara advocate. I don't know what Tina's preference is. I don't even know what my preference is. So just know that that label has a lot of weight into it, and you have all the rights to refrain yourself from calling yourself that if that burdens you. But just know that if you're doing something, if you're supporting the cause, if you're going out of your way and making the time and effort to join this fight, then you're part of this community. So it's I think it's a matter of mindset, because confidence is highly related to your mindset. And so my advice would be to try associating yourself less as an activist, but more as a person who simply wants to live, who simply needs air to breathe, you know, just human beings who deserves climate, ecological, and human rights justice. So with that mindset, I think you'll feel that taking actions are more urgent than any label might suggest. And specifically for those of you who needs to collect more confidence, remember that the combination of your traits, life experience, and interests, they're very unique. And referring back to that, like, I really like this philosophy that says that movements are like waves. I keep referring back to it because it really eases my conscience. So we are all, this movements all over the world are made up of many energies coalescing into one momentum after another. And by that understanding, you can be an accountant, a salesperson, a marketer, a musician, an artist, teacher, scientist, doctor, housewife. You can still be drinking boba with your plastic straw. You can still use plastic bags. You can still drive your car. We don't really need one perfect environmentalist. We need many imperfect environmentalists. I think that was a quote that I found on Instagram somewhere. So whatever life role you embody, know that we need you. This fight needs you. We need your unique self. So just do it. Let's just be together. Let's just fight this whole thing to achieve justice. So yeah.
Wow, Karin, that is actually a really good answer. And also, I'd like to say thank you for answering the questions in the chat, because we do have a lot of questions that has to unfortunately be unanswered because we don't really have all the time in the world, do we? But it's been really great. I really want to say thank you to all of you. It's really great talking to you. It is an amazing opportunity for me. I am very honored to be able to moderate this discussion today, but we don't have all the time in the world. And that last question marks the end of this session. I hope that today's talk gives us more understanding about sustainable activism, the hurdles and the truths of being today's youth activists, in hopes that one day we may also contribute in making this world a better place. Once again, I want to say thank you to RJ, to Lara, to Karin, and also to Tina. What is she now? But thank you so much once again, because you really opened our eyes. This discussion was really eye-opening and inspiring personally to myself. I hope that one day I can be like all of you guys as well and contribute into the climate movement. Yeah, so I guess that's it. I'm Sekar Langit. I'm giving it back to Bian.
Okay, thank you, Carla, and all the speakers. Like what I said before the second session started, this session is also really interesting, and we get a lot of insightful information on activism well-being. We have a chance to have a panel discussion with amazing speakers and know in depth behind being an activist, the anxiety, and also the burnouts. We really hope after this webinar, all audiences can eliminate the negative stigmas toward activism and understand that the urgency of the Climate Change Act. Now, unfortunately, we are at the end of the event, but before we end this wonderful opportunity, we want you all participants to feel the Menti. Maybe, yeah. So the link is on the screen and on the chat. If you haven't heard about Menti, Menti is basically an interactive website to respond to questions that appear in the website, so you can access it first. And maybe G will share screen the answers. If you, yeah, wait. So we will taking your answers in the Menti, it on putting it on our Instagram post. Not all answers will be chosen, but make sure that all participants can answer all the Menti, because it could be your answers. So yeah, access it first maybe. And I give it maybe 2 minutes for finishing the Menti. Okay. We will wait for G share screening the answer on the Menti. Okay. So the question is, what has been the biggest struggle in your activism journey? So there's a lot of answers, a lot of funny answers too. Someone's answer I don't have because I haven't joined activism journey. Maybe you can click the link that the speakers already put on the chat box, so you can reach out to them, to Lara or to Karin tadi. Yeah, thank you for the answer for the participant. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm. And next up, we will take attendance. Maybe G can share screen again for the link and put it on the chat box. Yeah, Farel already put it on the chat box. Okay. All participants, please take your attendance. I think I will give you 2 minutes for another attendance before we take a picture together with the speakers and all the participants can open your camera. Okay, maybe you guys can also see the Sinta chat. You can donate because this is a donate as you wish event, so you can donate through GoPay, OVO, Link Aja, or QRIS. Thank you, Kak Lara. Okay. I hope everyone already take your attendance. Maybe G can turn off the share screen, and participant, please open your camera. And unfortunately, I just can take the picture for 2 slides, so maybe you are the one that I can screenshot. Okay, I will lead the documentation. So first slide, 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, next slide. Wait, my connection is kind of poor, so yeah, okay. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, thank you so much for all the participants. I guess it's a wrap for today. Once again, thank you for your attendance and all the speakers for attending this event. We hope that we can see you all on the next event, and thank you for all media partners that support us for making this event. For Isaac, Teens Go Green, Mon, Water Nation, Teen for Change, Arise Rose, and all of it. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. And we will see you at our next event.
Hope everyone is safe and healthy.
Stay safe all.